right, everybody. It's the Working Fans Podcast, and we are live with Kevin Gill. Check this out first, though. Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you, because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Fans, welcome back for Working Fans Podcast, episode 130. Today, we have a very special interview for you. But first, as always, we are brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 1, written by Vinnie Berry, 35 short stories across the wrestling landscape, available at WrestleVille.com and LanceByChance.com. This book was written by the man who also wrote Lance by Chance, Wrestling is a Von Erich, where Kevin Vaughn becomes Lance Von Erich and then settles into being Lance Vaughn. This is an amazing book. If you think his story inside the wrestling industry is interesting, his life outside of it is way more interesting. And speaking of interesting, today we have a very special guest. He established the record label Striving for Togetherness Records, who released Vision of Disorder's earliest recordings, a band I'm a big fan of. He is the host of the Kevin Gill Show. He was featured in the NYHC documentary that came out in 1995. He was a part of Rockstar Games before they were Rockstar Games. He's been a part of Eidos Interactive. He is currently a commentator for GCW. He's been on the road to the Hammerstein, and on Sunday, it will not only be Kevin Gill on GCW, but the whole fucking world on GCW. We are here with your boy, OG Kevin Gill. Kevin, I am sorry I can't be around for this interview because I could sit here talking to you about hardcore music and video games way before we got to the wrestling, but I'm going to hand the interview off to the man they call Dave, and we're going to talk about wrestling, video games, and of course, GCW at the Hammerstein Ballroom this Sunday. I'm getting choked up because it's available on Fight TV. It's available on regular pay-per-view, and we are going to get into it with Kevin. Dave, take it away.
And I damn well will.
Awesome.
Man, he was excited. Shit, we're going to get into GCW because that's the big thing going on. But, you touched on a bunch of stuff there. First off, how you doing, man? How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's great to be here, to be among the working people, the people that make wrestling possible. You know what I mean? Without fans like you guys who then go above and beyond, not just to support the events, but to create a platform and to create content and a community around this thing we all love. So in absence of a Pabst, allow me to cheers this carbonated Arnold Palmer to you guys and all the working fans.
Do one, would you? Yeah. So he touched on some other stuff there. Video games. You got your hands in a few different things. So why don't we talk about some of the other stuff? Get a little background here.
Sure. I started out. I was always a big fan of music and video games and wrestling. There were like three passions in my life, just as a fan, as someone who would just absorb these products and be mesmerized by them, and etc. And music gave me my first opportunity to go from just being a fan of it to getting to know bands and getting bands booked for events and getting them booked on bigger shows, to then being like, well, why can't these bands have records out? And then how does that work? And how can I distribute records? How can I put out records? And then how do you market records? How do you brand them? How do you do every part of it? How do you announce them and build the demand? And so I got to do that with a lot of great bands. Like he mentioned Vision of Disorder, but also like Shutdown, 25 to Life, District 9, Neck, the criminally underrated Neck, Six and Violence, Romantic Gorilla, No Redeeming Social Value. There was a lot. We stopped at the 19th record, and we had a 20th one that I wish we had just put out, but it was like a sampler called The Future of Music, and it was a taste of a bunch of stuff we were working on, and like kind of a greatest hits of the catalog at a very nice price as an introduction, a reintroduction for some to the label. But what's interesting is doing all that stuff and just learning from the ground up how to do everything, every part of marketing and PR and branding and promotion and running live concerts and things like that. That led to me, my super fan knowledge of video games led to a chance meeting with Sam Hauser, who went on to start Rockstar Games. And he and I hit it off really well. And he offered me a position with his upstart company. It didn't have a name yet at the time, but he felt strongly he wanted me on the team. And they said, I didn't know if I was going to be a brand person or a producer until the day I started. And they didn't know either. They were just like, oh, we'll see which one we're going to do. And they went with brand. So I got to run with the ball there, and in a startup operation, you know what I mean? Anything, I give them a lot of credit, one, for giving me such a huge opportunity, and two, they were the kind of people that if you had an aptitude for something, because I had never, for example, edited trailers, for buyers or for the press or the public and things like that. But once they put me in a studio with someone else who was doing it, by the end of the day, I was suggesting shots and transitions and things. And then after the first day, the original one of the British guys, Jamie King, he didn't come back anymore to the studio. He's just like, all right, the studio's handled because KG's there. He could go do something else. You know what I mean? So anything you gravitated towards, they kind of encouraged you because they also needed people to run with a couple of different balls. So that led to me being able to talk to the press and stuff a lot. They would use me to pitch the games to the press and to buyers and things like that. So that was kind of like the talking and schmoozing part and pitching things part and putting things over. So the music stuff, the background in that got me the shot in video games. I worked at Rockstar for a few years, went out to IDOS and did the backyard wrestling games, but also worked on Hitman and Tomb Raider. And I mean, all these companies, they have the big games they're known for, but there's a lot of other games that also come out. Like I've worked, maybe 150 games. I'm not even sure how many games I'm credited on. A lot. But all that stuff is fucking awesome. You know what I mean? And while doing that and working on the backyard wrestling games, I mean, I had dabbled with stuff before. Like when I was doing the record label, we did New York hardcore music, but I started to use a lot of wrestling, iconography and imagery and stuff in our ads and things like that. And ECW came onto my worldview at that time in like 1996. So I started going to ECW religiously while running the record label. Like ECW was my outlet, you know what I mean? And from that, I got to interview some of the ECW people for a Philadelphia-based music magazine called All That Magazine, and later it was called Chord Magazine, or vice versa. But I interviewed like Too Cold Scorpio, Bill Alfonso, Terry Funk, and a few others, Stevie Richards. So all that shit was super, super cool. And Classy Freddie Blassie as well, rest in peace. So all those opportunities, then working on the backyard wrestling video game led to me just working directly with a lot of wrestlers, because I put together who were the wrestlers in the game and I put together the soundtracks for the games. So that led to me getting opportunities. The ICP guys hired me to be a referee for their company, despite the fact that I had never refereed before. But from several all-night conversations about wrestling, they felt that I would be a great referee. So I studied tape for a few weeks, and I had we hung out in a bar the day before the show, like Vampiro and ICP and Madman Pondo, and they mostly just taught me to lock up and a few other things. There wasn't too much, and we were in a bar, but there wasn't too much ref training. But I watched, like I said, I watched a ton of tape, and I got to watch work and watch with a lot of great refs. So I just kept upping my game, and I started taking bookings on the California independents just to keep sharpening and enhancing my skills to stay sharp for the music festivals they would do and the wrestling tours they would do. So I definitely put in my time and years on the ref front, and that led to commentary opportunities ultimately, and that's where I'm at now.
So that's all right. Talking about commentary and all that, I got to ask then, you hooked up with ICP. Were you, I'm assuming you were, but I'll just ask, a fan of the Strangle Mania VHS
Oh my
tapes?
God. Yeah, dude. The Strangle Mania tapes came into my life at the same time that ECW came into my life. So they were part and parcel of like a major influence and inspiration. Like I watched Strangle Mania like thousands of times, and I've told the story, but I mean, I would bring Strangle Mania with me, play like anywhere I was going, a bar, someone's house, whatever, it would just be in my backpack, because if there was an opportunity to play it, it would be played. You know what I mean? And everyone who saw it was always complete, like wrestling fans, non-wrestling fans, it didn't matter who it was, between the insane action and the fucking genius commentary. It was just the ultimate presentation. I got that at the record label. I had an intern named Tom Natali, and he, obviously was a college student and worked at his college radio station and all that. And at the college station, they had gotten an advance VHS of Strangle Mania, I guess, sent to them somehow. And then he just brought it directly to me. So I had it before it even came out, and was like, yeah, so that was incredible. And then getting to meet and know and work with those guys, and like be invited to their weddings and be guests in their homes and travel all over the world with them. You know what I mean? It's crazy to go from. That was the other thing. Like when ECW was my outlet, when I was running the record label, ICP and that stuff became my outlet in like the towards the end of the record label and into the Rockstar Games era. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you see a few years ago, they did in Grand Theft Auto, they had these Juggalo characters in the game. Like they had a character that was exactly the same as Shaggy Two Dope in terms of, his hair and his face paint and everything. And they used it on marketing campaigns and stuff. And I mean, that I sat down with Sam Hauser and all those guys. I played Strangle Mania for them more than once. They were fascinated with my fascination with ICP. You know what I mean? And it's funny that seed remained planted and made it all these years later into one of the Grand Theft Auto games. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's wild.
Spoken into existence. It's crazy. Yeah. To this day, me personally too, I still, with non-wrestling fans, will use the phrase, I'm handling wrestling business, just because there's so many good lines in that.
What was I going to say real quick? Damn, I just had a funny, an interesting note about that. Maybe it'll come back to me.
There's a lot. We'll see. Yeah, one thing I want to ask you about too. I was told to ask you about this. I see it in your Twitter. PMA. What is that exactly?
PMA, positive mental attitude, a philosophy, I guess, invented by, or at least first concepted by and put into written form by Napoleon Hill in his book. So think and Grow Rich or something like that. I might be messing up the title slightly, but it's a great read, and his message permeated into the hardcore and punk scene back in the day through the Bad Brains primarily, who put it out there as a mantra and in their music and as kind of their soul force, part of their soul force, if you will. And bands like Leeway kept the torch going as the crossover into metalcore and hardcore, crossover and all that. And then the homies H2O, right there, they to me then are the modern the modern masters of PMA, like Toby Morse and the band and all the stuff they do and what they represent. It's a great, like, just injection of positivity. But that's kind of a pop culture overview of it. But it's simply just a philosophy of, you talked about earlier, talking things into existence and whatever. And I'm a dude that moved out of his house at 17 years old and has gotten to work in every industry that he's ever wanted to, and worked alongside my heroes. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you put in the work and you have the right attitude, anything is possible. And a lot of people see the world through a negative filter. So PMA is just the idea that, times are going to be hard. Times are going to be tough. Not everything's going to be great. It doesn't mean that if people are going to insult and degrade you, that you're supposed to be like, positivity, bro. You know what I mean? I like to say PMA or fuck off, but just simply put, it's just to keep a positive outlook, to keep a positive mental attitude in mind. And it also ties, I think, into things that have been popular in years past, things like The Secret and all these different things. They all come back to the same thing. The power of thought is an incredible power, and the power of positive thought is very compelling, I feel, in the universe. And it sounds like some new age shit, but I'm sitting here doing the interview with you. Do you know what I mean? And that there's been many times in my life that all I had was that. All you could do is keep a positive mental attitude, because maybe you don't have food for the week, or maybe you're not sure if you can pay your rent, or you're not sure of all these different things that could be happening, health issues, whatever. But underneath it all, you know what I mean? It's possible. And as a lot of people have done it, have been powered back from great adversity through that simple concept. You know what I mean? So I try to embrace it the best I can, especially in this fucking world, brother.
Oh yeah.
It's a challenge, dude. But
absolutely,
you know what I mean? But here we are.
I'm gonna get into that a little bit too, because I want to ask you something as we get into wrestling. But one last non-wrestling question here. You got a hot sauce out right now too.
Oh,
Let's talk
man.
about that.
Yeah, I'm so honored, man. The homies at Snack Season Sauces, Rich Steve and company, they do an amazing job, and they've found an opening in the market for I'll tell it like it is, for a compelling array of hot sauces that are so dope. And I'm so used to the boutique hot sauce world of just being a level of one-upsmanship of, this is so hot it'll make your eyes hurt. Oh, this one will make your asshole explode. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I have no interest in that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Snack Season they do hot stuff, but they do a whole array of everything in between. And it's the crossover of the popular flavors. Like, instead of it, oh, what is it? Oh, this is a dynamite fucking pepper. What does it taste like? It tastes like crushed up dynamite pepper. Where he'll do like Oren Vite's honey mustard, or Jimmy Lloyd's you're fucking with a different soy sauce. Mine is the What Up Doe Buffalo, a tribute to the great Buffalo region of New York, and the incredible sauce that I feel like is the number one sauce as far as an American creation. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because my opinion, like Mexican style hot sauce beats Louisiana hot sauce or any of that stuff 10 times a week, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. But to have all those other sauces in there, and Buffalo is, like, to me, the ultimate sauce. And it's whether it's on seafood, on salad, on vegetables, tofu, chicken, whatever you want to do, and that it's not designed to burn out your taste buds. It's just meant to have some kick to it and be a new take on an old favorite. But he also has great sauces. Effy has a sauce over there at Snack Season. Bussy, the dynamic combination of Effy and Alley Catch, they have a Bussy, like a lavender-based hot sauce dessert. It's more of a for dessert purposes. But use it how you want to use it. Right. But just an amazing array of stuff over there, and I'm honored. And I'm sure there's a bunch of sauces I'm not thinking of, but those are some of my favorites of the ones I've had. And my first pressing is sold out. I think they're about to be at Hammerstein Ballroom. I think it's the first time they'll be available. And then from there, hopefully there's enough demand that we can do more editions, and maybe down the line, more flavors.
I like it. Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. Now, obviously, commentator for GCW. I guess one of the things I want to ask you before we start talking about this weekend, like, what is I think Jim Ross was always a guy I always heard was like, he doesn't like to know anything. beforehand, or as little as possible. What's your prep? Are you similar in that regard, or?
100%. I love to not know, and GCW does a great job of letting me not know for the most part. Once in a while, anything can happen, whether it's travel arrangements or all kinds of things can lead to you potentially finding something out. But some of the biggest moments, or really all of the biggest moments in GCW history, these viral moments from the last 12 to 18 months of incredible surprises and reveals and dramatic returns and all this shit, I had no fucking idea. And I'm there all day in the back with everyone. When there are special people, they're hidden. They're sometimes in separate buildings or have a separate room, and they're kept in a gimmick that you can't even see who it is. Like it's wild that they take it to that extreme, but I love it because a surprise isn't a surprise if everyone knows it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's a surprise or just the show itself, you know what I mean? Like you're reacting to what's there and putting it through that filter of what the audience is thinking or wondering about, and then accentuating the stuff they might need to know about. You know what I mean? And with the energy and a passion that keeps the whole thing flowing. You know.
You touched on something too a little while ago I wanted to get to. We talked about positive thinking in this messed up world, and what that made me think of is it a total just almost like fucking mind fuck to think COVID, where you guys, what you're gonna do? It's what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And here we are at the beginning of 2022. Like, holy shit.
Yeah. And in some ways, obviously a lot has changed, and then in some ways a lot of stuff is still the same. Do you know what I mean? The good news is that it's seemingly now approved by all municipalities, state, city, local, federal, whatever, for people to travel and do stuff as long as they take certain precautions. So everyone has to assess their own risk and make their own decisions. And, you see so many people have gotten it in the December and January wave that, who knows, between that and vaccinations, maybe that helps lead to more of a herd immunity thing. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it seems that if everyone gets something and everyone gets through it seemingly in 2 to 4 or whatever days, and a lot of people have mild symptoms, maybe in a way we're conquering it. Do you know what I mean? By at least, if you can beat it that easily, then maybe you're building up your own immunity to it. I don't know. But it's crazy, but here we are. You know what I'm saying? And everyone has to still somehow live and survive, but also to be able to escape from that reality is valuable beyond words.
I'm just thinking too from a business standpoint, to be where you're not sure where you're going, and now Hammerstein Ballroom Sunday, just amazing. That's got to be a lot of positive attitudes probably went into keeping this thing going.
Right. And just to have the vision like Brett Lauderdale did, to even in all this chaos in the world, he was able to create and plot a strategy for safely running events through the pandemic, through extremely distance and limited attendance events, like wide open outdoor events. It was a blueprint other wrestling companies used, from television companies on down, to be able to try to bring experiences to their audiences, and to start that and then build this massive momentum, like you said, in this difficult time, and then do the whole road to Hammerstein. And now we're like, hours away, so to speak, days away.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. And then it's not even like, oh, I hope a lot of people show up. Like, it sold out in like 36 hours. You know what I mean?
It's nuts. And I think you said something there too. I was kind of interested, like talking about like, you're going these different places. Like, I don't know if you guys get the credit for like a touring company that you are. Like, you're everywhere.
Yeah, like it seems like the wrestling press, I think they're getting better at it now, especially, but for the amount of shows GCW runs, the locations that they run, the audience that's in attendance, the audience that's watching at home, it's hard to imagine not covering GCW for what it is, rather than being constrained to the idea of if it's not on some extremely limited and barely watched TV platform, that it doesn't exist as a product. It's baffling, because if you look at any of the metrics, it would sure seem like GCW has much more of a fan base and a draw and people that are engaged and active in viewing the product than other products do that have bigger platforms. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to think. I wonder, we talked about this, like, little fantasy. I don't know what you would think of this. Me and a friend just did our fans, and it's like, because of the product you deliver, like, what would you, what major company, TV company would pick them up? But I always thought, man, wouldn't it be something if, like, and I don't know if this would work out, but like an HBO Max or something where you could just still be yourself.
Sure.
Get distribution. I'd really be curious just to see, because you guys do have all this momentum, and I don't know if it gets noticed sometimes enough as it should.
Yeah, like I know that Brett Lauderdale, the guy who runs GCW, he's been on the record as saying fairly recently that he felt that like TV wasn't the answer, or something that he's working towards or whatever. I know obviously he's open to whatever, to considering anything, but I agree with you in that idea. Like the conventional idea of TV where every Saturday morning,
Right.
GCW is going to tell this 14-week story or whatever. I don't think that would be a benefit, but 4 times a year special on HBO Max, a monthly special on Netflix. You know what I mean?
Almost like a big time fight, like an HBO box, Showtime, that kind of feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a special events and things, that because this is a wrestling product that has crossed over, it's reinvigorated lapsed fans. It brings new fans in, like that have never attended wrestling shows before. And it has the benefit of being in an ecosystem where there are companies like AEW that have a great, compelling product. They have a great, compelling platform, incredible roster, and they're out in the world. Just them being there educates fans to there's more to wrestling than just a WWE product. Like, so even if fans had no idea, they become way more open to other products and ideas once they've seen AEW, and then in some cases they're seeing people like Joey Janela and John Moxley that are on both of the shows. You know what I mean? So it's a great doorway, and companies like Ring of Honor obviously doing their thing and having their titles represented on these shows. I think it represents a great, even if it's just in the spirit of cooperation, even if there's not any sort of formal arrangements between anyone, just to have that spirit of cooperation and call it brotherhood, or having the ability to lend a helping hand, and everyone wins. Like the tide raises all ships. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone's hurt by the entire life's blood of the future of television wrestling, which has always been and always will be having a strong and vibrant and diverse independent wrestling scene, because no one delivers stars to television like independent wrestling does, no matter how many models and Instagram influencers and other people are signed. And some of those people will go on to do great things in wrestling, but percentage wise and etc., that's my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, you want the people in independent, because they're the ones that are passionate normally and are going to put everything into it. So yeah, I mean,
already been putting everything into
right.
Fully ready to go.
Is this, in your opinion, you're a lifelong wrestling fan too, is just in your opinion too, the greatest time in terms of talent trading and lending out wrestlers that I don't think, I mean, you'd have to go way back in the territory days, but this is overall for cooperation.
Yeah, to me, I think it's unprecedented. Yeah, I think back in the territory days, it's a different thing in a way, right. But if you were local in those markets, you saw your place as the place, and then the other people would come through. So there was obviously a huge sharing thing that went on between like the NWA people and all that, or Mid-Atlantic and everyone coming through and going places. But yeah, what's going on now, I think is unprecedented, because you have New Japan talent, you have Ring of Honor talent, Game Changer Wrestling talent. There's Impact Wrestling talent out there. You know what I mean? There's so much talent out there doing their thing, AEW talent. And I think it benefits the industry. It makes new stars, and the fans win in the biggest way possible, because these dream scenarios and dream matches just continue to unfold organically. And a lot of times they're driven by two forces: the wrestler's desire to have that match in, both cases, and the fans' desire to see it. You know what I mean? Those are the two forces. Rather than telling the audience what they want or telling them that what they want is wrong, imagine giving them what they want. It's fucking insane. It's fucking crazy, but stick with me.
It's funny, like, though, even to your point too, like how this benefits. Like, I'll say, unfortunately, we don't know what's going on with Ring of Honor, right? And we hope that they do great. But like Jonathan Gresham, to me now, is a bigger star because he's showing up with that Ring of Honor belt, and that belt is suddenly like more. It's come like the traveling NWA World Title. He's an Impact. He's in GCW. He's everywhere. It's like what?
And defending it against top tier talent and building to this huge match at Hammerstein, and the legacy of Ring of Honor at Hammerstein, and having Ian Riccaboni come in for commentary on that match. All of that is just very special, and it's a great tribute. And it's great that Ring of Honor will be back in April, and I look forward to seeing what they deliver. But I think it's just magical. You know what I mean? Because it's. I understand for a long time it made total sense to, be very restrictive about everything. But I think in this new age and new era, it makes a lot more sense just to be cooperative in a sense, especially in mutually beneficial ways.
Absolutely. Now we've talked a lot. Let's get to the weekend. We'll start off with, I think it's a little bit under the radar here, but the Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. Oh man, I'm just going to go down this real quick for you.
Please
talk about it. Jerry Lynn will be inducted, and by Sean Watman, X-Pac 1-2-3 Kid. Homicide, the godfather of independent wrestling, inducted by Chris Dickinson. Dave Prazak will be there, inducted by CM Punk. CM Punk's going to be here. LuFisto, Lenny Leonard inducting her. We got Ruckus inducted by Sanjay Dutt, and
wow,
I don't know who's inducted, but Tracy Smothers also, who well deserved, will be inducted. Like,
yes,
that's a hell of a lineup, man.
They have not announced Tracy's inductor yet. I'm not sure if they will announce it or it'll just unfold on the air, live and free on Fight TV as well as YouTube. But of course, if you want to join us in the room, it's at the Cutting Room, New York City. And tickets are still available on the Cutting Room website. It's going to be a lot of love in the room, just to be in the room with those legends as they speak from the heart, from the soul, and to be there in a world-class, world-famous venue. It's a really prestigious affair, and so nice to be able to honor all those people you mentioned. We could go on for an entire series of shows about them and their contributions and what many of them have meant to us personally. We wouldn't be here today without every one of those people.
1,000%. And I think it just really adds to this weekend too, doing this in the honoring these guys. And I think that's always been the way. I mean, even back in the day, the WrestleManias and the accesses, and now the independent week. It's just awesome when you see it. Just feels like a bigger event.
Yeah, and it's bigger than life, and it's to honor people that are bigger than life. You know what I mean? And I think it's just so important to do that, because wrestling can obviously be a very hard business, and there's a lot that goes into it, and that's before you get into the social media side of things.
Yes.
So I think anytime you could give people their flowers, give them their acknowledgments, their props, their respect for their contributions, because believe it or not, even the people that you think of as legends and icons and all these things, they are, but sometimes they need to really, they really need to know what they mean. It's that important, and it's special thanks to, it's not just Game Changer Wrestling putting on that Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame, but it's our friends at Orange Crush Magazine and Pabst Blue Ribbon. So hats off to them sincerely, because it takes a village to pull something off of this magnitude, and here we are.
And I'm going to read this card quickly and I'm going to get all these matches down here, and we'll just talk about the card in general. But I want to get all these because I think this card is so fucking stacked.
Insane.
Yeah. Pre-show, Jack Cartwheel.
Well, it's a kickoff.
Oh, kickoff. Okay. 6-way scramble. Yeah. Jack Cartwheel, Dante Leon, Ninja Mac, Nick Wayne, Grim Reaper, Alex Zane. It's insane. I love Nick Wayne, the son of Buddy Wayne, has turned up too. I think that's, again, you just don't know who's going to show up. And
what a great kid Nick Wayne is. A top tier talent at an impossibly young age, and as humble and nice and kind and considerate as the day is long. It's an honor to know him and work alongside him, and to just be in the room with him at this pivotal time in his career, and knowing the multi-generational component of it. I'm a big fan of that. I love generations and dynasties and families in wrestling. To me, that's always been a part of the magic. Worked families are fine, but shoot families and shoot bloodlines and dynasties have that extra kick, because it's real.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But so I don't lose track here. Matt Cardona, Joey Janela. I love the way this was set up with the classic Joey doing the Miss Elizabeth type photos and everything with Chelsea Green. Talk about two guys that really, I think, know how to build a match too.
Oh man, they to build a match and to deliver a match in both cases. And Joey Janela has proven countless times that he can make magic. He's just a magician in the ring, of that he's able to take performers, of whether they're performers of different generations or eras of wrestling, or whether they're the contemporary state-of-the-art wrestler. It's been everyone from Marty Jannetty to Leo Rush to PCO to, all over the spectrum, to Scotty 2 Hotty. Joey makes magic every time he's in the ring, but I think this time the magic is going to be a dark magic, a very violent form of magic, because you saw what happened at Super Gabby's toy storage space, or dollhouse, whatever. I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but yeah, I just can't wait. And you have to be impressed with what, despite his despicable, he's like a super douche canoe, you know what I mean? Like just a king of the assholes, Matt Cardona. But he's so full of himself and everything, but there is some foundation to it, you know what I mean, in terms of what he's been able to do, in terms of reinventing himself, and then to step into the ring with Nick Gage, to do what he did, to endure that, and not just endure it, not just survive it, not just be able to come back from it, but to win the title, albeit maybe under questionable circumstances. His run has been legendary, and he quit already, so I was very thankful that we didn't have to see him or them anymore. But now they're back for one more time, the only time. If you want to see the complete and utter destruction of the Cardona dynasty, please tune in on Fight TV. Call your local cable provider or get it on Fight TV, because I can't wait. I just can't wait for Joey to regulate on Matt Cardona. It's gone on for too long, and it ends. It's over. Goodbye, Matt Cardona.
I love it. You sound so. This card's fucking stacked. I look at the next match I see out here. I got Jeff Jarrett, former WCW World Champion, against Effy. I think this is going to be awesome for Effy more than anything. I think Effy's going to shine, and I'm super excited. But I am excited just to see how Jeff Jarrett at this stage of the game and everything. This is interesting.
Jeffy versus Effy. We've seen a litany of stars across wrestling and even outside of wrestling become obsessed with Effy, seemingly enthralled with Effy. Matt Cardona went through a big time Effy obsession, and now we see here Jeff Jarrett, or as some say, Jeffy, is possibly on the same trail. But the thing is, it's very unclear to me what is motivating all this from Jeff Jarrett. He showed up, he brutally attacked Effy with a guitar. No words were spoken. He repeated his actions against Alley Catch, and he's just extra disturbing the nature of the dragging people around by their heads with this shattered guitar with all these splinters and the string ends all stabbing people in their face while this is happening. And I don't understand why. I don't even want to speculate why. His history and legacy in the business is well documented and well respected from the territory days on forward. There's no Memphis wrestling without the Jarrett family.
1,000%.
So I don't know what it's all about, but I know that Effy is never been one to back down from a fight. And whether it's against Nick Gage, whether it's against members of the Second Gear crew, whether it's against Matt Cardona, it doesn't matter who you put against Effy. Effy is fine. And I think Jeff Jarrett's going to find out that while being a well-respected mind in pro wrestling, being a well-respected behind-the-scenes figure in pro wrestling, by being a top podcaster in pro wrestling, by being rumored to have all these new business plans for the year in pro wrestling. None of that is equal to Effy's overall magnitude of greatness. So as great as Jeff Jarrett is, and he is great, don't get me wrong, I don't think Jeff Jarrett has ever seen anyone like Effy. And when that bell rings, I don't know that Jeff Jarrett's ready.
More reason to buy it. I love it. Guys should probably check this out. There's a video somewhere online too, hyping this next match that was just awesome. Alley Catch and Ruby Soho. This is good stuff, man. I mean, this is an awesome women's match. Soho's doing great things in AEW. Alley Catch, I feel, is like one of the centerpieces of Game Changer Wrestling.
100%. I always say this: Alley Catch is the best unsigned wrestler in North America, and I think we're very fortunate to have her, and to have her up on top of the stage on the main show, and to face someone that is a dream opponent for her, but to do it on her terms in her house. You know, she's not going somewhere else to someone else's television or whatever, or somewhere. Ruby Soho is coming to the Hammerstein Ballroom. Sold out before she was even announced, and she's going to go to war with Alley Catch, man. If you guys haven't seen it, as well as the amazing promo, the Giancarlo or vignette short film that Giancarlo put together for that program, there's also an incredible post-match interview, if you want to call it that, or promo that Alley Catch cut on the microphone in Chicago that was absolutely, like, people had chills. It was just magnificent. And Allie's worked so hard for it, and she magnifies and exemplifies the spirit of GCW. She is a last outlaw. You know what I mean? Everyone is told they don't belong. They're not good enough. You're too much this. You're not enough that. Yet somehow, despite the critics and the cynics, Hammerstein Ballroom is sold out. Call your local cable provider.
I love it. We're halfway through this card. I feel like this has kind of turned into we're pumping everything up, but fuck it, I love it, and you're willing to do it, so thank you.
Fuck yeah.
All right, next match. Then we're halfway through. Team Bandito, ASF, Bandito, Laredo Kid, Ares, Demonic Flamita, and Gringo Loco.
Man, Team Bandito versus Team Gringo. Bandito, of course, needs no introduction. His reign, some say his reign still continues as Ring of Honor world champion. And you know, to have your finger to the pulse of Lucha Libre, not many people have it more than Bandito. His in-ring work is spectacular. The people he surrounds himself with is spectacular. But his team has their hands full, certainly, because Gringo Loco is no fucking joke. Gringo Loco, hands down, the most talented luchador from this side of the border, I think, that's ever been. His magic in all the scrambles and in every other format of match he's ever been placed in GCW, I think, speaks volumes. The base god is able to do things in the ring that no one should be able to do. And he's got his homies too. So when you just I think of the legendary Mysterio and Juventud, or Mysterio and Psychosis, and all these legendary matches, whether it be at the ECW arena or on WCW Nitro, that kind of showed the whole world what's possible with modern lucha style. That's my prediction, and that's what I'm expecting out of that 6-person lucha team-based war.
Absolutely. Fearless. All those guys are fearless. Next match, be a little easier to preview, but I will say this. As we talked about a little, off air, being long wrestling fans, I was always a mark for surprises and mystery. And the Briscoes defending the Game Changer wrestler against we don't even know. And, okay, I want to see it.
I know, it's like, it's so compelling, and there's so much talent announced for the show that doesn't even have a match assigned yet. And then there's always the possibility of, but what else? Like, what if the challengers aren't people that are part of what's been announced? You know what I mean? Anything's possible. There's been a lot of talk online. I think there's several frontline candidates, and I don't think anyone I was gonna say no one loses anyway, but in a way the Briscoes could, you know what I mean? Because when you don't know who you're facing, it's a lot harder to prepare for it. But the Briscoes, I sound like a broken record, but the Briscoes, is anyone better in tag team wrestling than the Briscoes right now? Untouchable. To be able to call their matches in Game Changer Wrestling, to see and study their work up close like that, and the respect that the fans and the other wrestlers have for them, those guys are beyond next level, man. If they were born a decade or two earlier, they would have been, on top with the Road Warriors. You know what I mean? They're just like that day, and the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express and everybody. Like, they're just, to me, they're the best tag team in the world right now. And I know other teams like FTR claim that, and in their mind or in their world, they might be. But a lot of people make a strong case for the Second Gear crew. You know what I mean? And they're a unique force to be reckoned with. So anything's possible. Who knows what it might be?
Yeah, that's one of the great selling points of this too. Again, we got to see. And it's not like we're not giving you an outstanding card. So you're getting
right.
It's like just show up. Yeah. And yeah, okay. So the next match, to me, this actually might be the match of the night in terms of just action, which is saying something since we talked about it. But the Grab the Brass Ring ladder match, Jordan Oliver, PCO, Leo Rush, Alex Colon, Tony Deppen, and Jimmy Lloyd. I feel like all of those people have had like awesome 2021s. And yeah.
It's just so crazy, and the opportunity and what it represents. Any shot at any of the Game Changer Wrestling championships at any time is what the holder of the brass ring then has access to. So when you think of that contrast of styles, you know what I mean? You have Jimmy Lloyd, the master of the scramble, who's not afraid to get more than down and dirty. Alex Colon, the Mr. Three-Peat himself. But has Alex Colon ever faced a juggernaut like PCO? Do you know what I mean? The French-Canadian Frankenstein. That guy he's not human. He's a monster. You know what I mean? You add to that the technicality and sheer assholeness personified of Tony Deppen, the incredible high flying and everything that Leo Rush brings to the table. And it just goes on and on. I mean, that match is stacked, like absolutely, absolutely stacked.
Yeah, and we got two more. This is just an insane card. Again, Jonathan Gresham defending that Ring of Honor title against Blake Christian. If you watched the last show, both these guys coming off big wins. I think this is another sleeper.
Oh yeah, Blake Christian has been one of the greats for a while now, and he's reemerged on the scene with a whole new level of passion and dedication, and it's like what he's delivered in the ring right now it seems like superhuman. You know what I mean? Like, he seems primed, he seems ready, he seems as strong as Gresham is, as unfuckwithable as Gresham is on the mat. Christian, I think, brings that to the game, but brings a whole other set of skills. And I think we're going to see a pure rules match, maybe amongst the likes of which we've never seen before, because the stakes are so amplified, not just for the prestigious title that's on the line, but the platform and the audience and what it means. You know what I mean? Like, John Gresham, there's no way he wants to go back to Terminus and wants to go back to Ring of Honor without that belt. You know what I mean? And with all his various appearances and everything. And Blake Christian wants to show the world that he's the guy that's going to basically take the show. He's going to steal the show every single time. It doesn't matter where you slot him. It doesn't matter anything, because Blake Christian's future is determined by Blake Christian and his abilities in the ring. There's no other limitation on him anymore. So therefore, Blake Christian, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's Blake Christian's night, but we'll find out.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a good one. His ability, he can do it everywhere. And that main event coming off the Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame induction, Homicide gets his shot at the Game Changer Wrestling title against the returning Jon Moxley.
What can be said? Jon Moxley, one of the illest to ever do it. But then you want to talk about ill, fucking Homicide, man. It's two legends. It's two legends of independent wrestling, and obviously both of their work has far exceeded the scope of independent wrestling throughout their storied careers. But as two like Mount Rushmore representations of independent wrestling, Moxley and Homicide, just a war for the ages, a dream match, a match I don't think you could really see anywhere else but GCW, and how fitting to have it in that room on that platform, and to have Mox back in wrestling with the title. He never lost, and Homicide went through a lot to get this opportunity. So, man, the words main event may have never been more aptly applied to this. It's going to be special for sure. I'm sure Moxley wants to show and prove that he's still Moxley, but Homicide, I think wants that big win on the big platform, and he wants to win the biggest prize in the sport in his home city. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ingredients and a lot of potential for magic. There's a lot of potential for violence. So that's kind of really the ultimate formula, in my humble opinion.
Great way to close the show. Absolutely. Well-deserved main event. Kevin, we've talked about a lot. We turned this into a countdown show at the end, but I think
hell yeah.
Good.
We'll rerun it on Sunday before the pay-per-view.
Anytime, brother. Anything you want to promote or anything else you want to talk about? Floor is yours, man.
Sure. I'm about to release a new T-shirt that Sayozawa from Japan drew for me, and Powerbomb Prints printed up. It's fucking stunning. Later today, I'm going to be putting up a reveal trailer of it and putting it on sale on my site. I'll also have them in New York. So if anyone wants to support me like that, please do. My website is dignifiedbastard.com. Additionally, I would encourage everyone to please check out patreon.com/GameChangerWrestling. We do a lot of great content on there. The official Game Changer Wrestling podcast is exclusive to it. Myself and Brett Lauderdale take questions for hours every episode and give them all back to the Patreon community exclusively. There's the World of Deathmatch with Alex Colon and Stephen A. There's the World of Deathmatch newsletter, the TJ and Friends unprecedented, like behind the scenes video access to the talent and alternative camera angles of the events and things like that. Early access to ticket on sales, exclusive merch. It's a whole thing going on, and a lot of what's happening is due in great part to our great Patreon community. So we encourage you to join it at any level you can. And then, of course, GCWmerch.com is the official GCW merch hookup. Shout out to our friends from Orange Crush. Shout out to Pabst. And shout out to me, your boy KG, at OG Kevin Gill on all social media. And shout out to our friends at Middle Kingdom Wrestling, who recently made history working with the governments of China and Japan to promote a series of wrestling events, to promote kind of a global, what would be the right word? To create kind of, I want to choose my words very carefully here. Let's see. So Middle Kingdom Wrestling and the State Department of the United States and the government of China all teamed up to bring a series of pro wrestling events to China in the spirit of just opening up the doors of communication and opening up the spirit of people. You know what I mean? We're all people at the end of the day, and people enjoying things together and using the art of professional wrestling to bring the people together and to build a bond on something like that is so cool. And I'm honored that the shows just were run live in China over the last few days. And then I'm going to be doing commentary in post-production on that. I would have loved to have been there to do it, but with the Hammerstein and everything, it was not possible. So I will be doing it in post, and you can check out Middle Kingdom Wrestling on YouTube. And they're doing great things in China, bringing regular wrestling events, homegrown talent, training people out there. And it's great just to see that flag of wrestling taken around the world as a way of bringing people together.
There you go. And this Sunday, the World on GCW, 8 p.m. is the main show. Fight TV and on regular pay-per-view. So
yep. And that kickoff event starts at, I believe, right around 7.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want to miss that. A lot of great talent is going to be seen in that first hour. So make sure you tune in at 7 and get acquainted with the world on GCW.
All right, Kevin, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man.